The entire exercise that day was really geared toward providing movement breaks and brain breaks for kids. So giving them chances to switch gears and do a different activity, even though it was all sort of centered around the same learning task, really provides them the ultimate learning experience, I feel. It gives the children an opportunity, again, for movement breaks, which is really important for kids who do have attention and focus issues and really need chances to sort of take a brain break throughout their learning so that they can regroup and refresh themselves. Look at where you're starting. Everybody know where you're starting? And we'll do 10-minute stations, okay, just like we usually do. Remember, if you need a fidget, they're right here. Okay, move to your station. I do provide a visual schedule when we do what I term as stations. The visual schedule just allows them to remember where they're supposed to be in any given part of the station rotation. That particular day, we were doing an iPad station, a root word station, and a word study station. So I did create those 3 categories, and then the students' names were on magnets that they could move, and I also included the arrows so they knew which direction they were going. Good strategy, Sarah. Good job. A lot of times students that have learning differences really have issues as well with self-esteem, so trying to address that in a way that gives them a sense of accomplishment via independent work is really helpful for them and helps to boost their self-image. Word study can incorporate many different areas, but in this particular session we were practicing a skill that we had been working on, and that was adding a prefix or suffix to a root word, or noticing which words had prefixes and suffixes already attached to them, and then sorting those words based on those categories, whether there was a prefix, whether there was a suffix, whether there was both, or whether there was no affix, which is the term used to describe prefixes and suffixes. The root word station was to enhance their understanding of the vocabulary by looking at words that had prefixes and suffixes attached to the root words and then breaking them apart and again categorizing them based on whether they had a prefix or a suffix and then how they might create their own. There were 2 words that were purposely left out as far as did not have a category that they fell into. So those 2 words, for instance, they needed to create adding a suffix or adding a prefix to create a new word, and then they were using those words in sentences as well. The iPad app was called Bluster Deluxe, and it is a really interesting tool to use to help children with the vocabulary and practicing the same types of skills that we were working on, root words, prefixes, suffixes, and categorizing again all of those words based on what skill they were practicing at what level. Using technology is really important in the 21st century world. Students are very wired, they're used to being connected. Anything that will hook them into learning using the technology is really a bonus. The iPad is unique in that it does provide a tactile, it provides a visual motor as well as an auditory mode of learning, and many children with learning differences can benefit from that multisensory approach across the board, whether it's during the stations where the cards are moved around, that's kinesthetic. Some children really learn best moving things around and using their bodies to enhance their learning. Working in pairs or small groups definitely supports both the more accomplished learner as well as the one who's struggling. I purposely pair students up in that way with someone who is a little bit more comfortable with their learning or a little bit more advanced with someone who's struggling a little bit more. And I find that it works well without them even knowing it. They don't even realize that they're helping each other. The struggling reader may help the more advanced reader by helping them to slow down and recognize details a little bit more, because the struggling reader or the struggling learner needs a little bit more time, and so therefore their partner needs to react to that in a positive way. I think the struggling learner can benefit most by watching and observing modeled behavior that's appropriate for the lesson. Locke, do you need some help?
He's going way too fast.
Okay, Gabe, you need to slow down a bit and spread your cards out. They're too bunched together. You can't really read them, especially the prefix pile. The teacher has more flexibility to observe the learning in the different stations, so she or he can visit each station as the students are working, because technically they are more independent, so she or he can then make informal assessments that way and how much the children are learning from each other. Each of you take a card and categorize it, put it where it needs to be. Find the root word where it needs to be. Okay. Are you sure about that one, Sarah? What is that word, Louie?
Exclamation.
Exclamation.
Because exclamation.
Mm-hmm. Students really benefit from different strategies that can help them focus and attend more with their learning. The T-stool provides, the students have to sit on that a certain way or else they will fall over. So they need to support their bodies, and by doing that they need to focus and attend to their core, and with their core strength in gear, so to speak, they can then attend to the work in front of them. Almost all of my classroom benefits from an oral fidget. Many of them use chewing gum on a daily basis. It provides oral motor stimulation, which again helps them focus their brain a little bit more when the learning task is at hand. The hand fidgets are similar in that some of us as adults even have a tendency to click a pen constantly, or fidget with our hands, or fiddle with a paper clip as we're doing a learning task. Children are the same way, and many of them need something to put in their other hand just to keep that hand busy while they're focusing on what their writing hand is supposed to be doing.
You have on.
Okay, guys, can you mix up? And it's time to switch your stations. I actually would demonstrate for my students, this is how you are to respond when the timer goes off. This is what you do when you're at this station. This is what you do when you're at this station. This is the expected behaviors, and this is what you need to produce in the end when we're finished with this station. It needs to be managed from the very beginning in modeled behavior. So I have seen this work very well in groups of 18 students, in groups of 7 students, and it depends on the classroom management from the very beginning. And if students understand the expectation and then they've seen a model, someone modeling the behavior for them, that makes the world of difference in having this incorporated in classroom learning.